There we go.
Well, it appears that the meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. It appears that I have sound levels here. Evidently, it's important that we check these things, ladies and gentlemen, because I did a show last Monday, some of you may know, where I was only about an hour into it. It wasn't too bad before I found out there wasn't any sound at all on that. It was pretty sweet discovering that in the middle of a show that is not easy to duplicate. I was there breaking down a goat, and it's not like I got a goat in my back pocket I can pull out anytime I want to go ahead and start breaking out, right? But I'm going to go ahead and for those folks of you that are interested, I'll be doing a redo part 2 on that one next Monday for my Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour. As most of you know, that go off at 4 o'clock every Monday. And I just talk a little bit about kitchen technique, right? Like chefs cook, right? And probably like a lot of your grandmas cook, right? And so that's industry cooking classes every Monday at 4 o'clock. I'll be doing that goat breakdown redo part 2 on Monday for those of you that are interested. But today you guys are watching the glorious Brad Cecchi from Canon. He has agreed to do a Between the Two Stoves interview here with me on Industry Cooking Classes Network. And so I wanted to thank him. He is, as I kind of always like to say, he is one of the tallest chefs in town that I know, okay? And I gotta say a little story, I didn't always realize this, I've seen Brad, out in the community doing like food festivals and things like that. He's always out there doing that fun stuff, right? And that's where I see this guy around town, right? And I recently saw him at a St. John's dinner. The last time I think I saw him in person, and I'm sitting there shaking his hand, and we're talking, and I can't even concentrate on what we're saying because I'm sitting there thinking, I had no idea. I never realized how tall you are, man. You're like 1.5 feet taller than me, and I never realized. Yeah, I was just standing there looking up to you, and I still look up to you, man. You're one of the greats in town, and I wanted to bring you on out. So without any further ado, Brad Cecchi from Canon, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Yeah.
So ever since COVID hit and everything, I've been just kind of on the sidelines here in my little kitchen, watching everything from afar happen. And you yourself have been on the front lines of this from the very start. You and of course Clay down there at Canon. You guys got involved with Family Meals Sacramento right out of the gate. I wonder if you could kind of tell people who haven't heard of that what that was about. What's Family Meals Sacramento all about, and what's kind of going on with that?
Yeah, so Family Meal was something that we, I think it was like March 12th, 14th, I think the 12th, or it was a Sunday. The governor announced that, we were gonna have to, close or reduce our dining room sizes. And so we kind of hit the ground running at that point. And that Sunday, by Monday, we had several other restaurateurs at Canon, some folks from the city, some folks from the school districts, some folks from a lot of different philanthropic, organizations. We had a meeting at Canon, socially distant in the dining room, and just started saying, what are we going to do? Who needs to be fed? Because we know, chefs know, right? That's what we know how to do, is feed people. So right. Our idea initially was, okay, cool. We can't be in big groups of people, so we can't have these giant commissaries of Meals on Wheels or even the Golden One Center, these big kitchens. You can't staff them. So how do we mobilize small restaurants, independent restaurants, into micro commissaries where we have the staff that are not working anymore? We have the chefs who are not, creating menus in their restaurants. We have, people who can put this stuff together and fundraise it. So the challenges were, how do we get distribution? And who do we take the food to? And so we got a group of people together. We said, who needs to eat? It boiled down to, at-risk youth, at-risk youth that were getting their meals from the schools that were no longer in session. Yes. And it boiled down to the elderly, who we were asking for them to stay at home and not leave, right? So Those were the two groups that we identified as people that needed our service and our help and what we were able to do. And our main goal on a restaurant side was to keep our employees working, to keep cash flow in our supply chain moving, right? So we could pay our vendors and pay our bills and things like that. and then, you know, keeping everybody working. And then the third thing, obviously, is feeding people that need to be fed.
Yeah, that. I got to jump in. This is why I am so fascinated. This is why I wanted to talk to you. I was like desperate to talk to you guys about this stuff because you guys are hearing this out there, right? It's not just, it's about feeding people, right? But also keeping these restaurants open like this. It's really doing some good, and it's that partnership between city, it's restaurants, it's school districts who have an understanding of dietary needs and things like that can actually mobilize and help you feed, you know, like you said, the at-risk use and things like this. Beautiful stuff. Yeah.
And then you have you know, chefs and cooks from some of the best restaurants in town, right? Mulvaney's and Alora and Camden and Bichiyaki and us, and you know, and you have those chefs and those cooks now focusing their creativity and attention and farmer relationships and vendor relationships and connections in the community to providing meals for these people. And so they're hopefully getting, you know, some really great quality food, you know, on top of that. So
also maybe some cuisines they might not have every day, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
And so, you know, we were able to kind of figure out the logistics of it. We started, you know, Mulvaney's and Canon started doing family meal pro bono. Basically, we started with no funding, just doing it with our own money and finding places to take the food so that we could develop SOPs and put standard operating procedures in place so that we could grow the program, show that it worked, show the viability of it, you know, partnering with nonprofits so that it was all on the up and up, so that, you know, it was you know, it was charity work, it's philanthropy, it's not for profit, right? The whole
and
goal,
chefs and restaurant owners don't necessarily know how to set that end of it up, right? You need those guys. Yeah, yeah.
That's where, you know, Clay, my business partner, came into play, is that he's familiar with that end of things, and so he kind of served as the administrator of the program.
Doesn't he officially know every human in Sacramento? I think he's met every human at one time. Yeah.
He's better at names than I am.
I kind of feel sorry when I think of Clay, because he had to work a booth with me at a festival once, and that poor guy.
He can't stop talking about you. He's all, yeah, well, Dave wants you to come on and do Between Two Stoves. I was like, I'm in, 100%.
Oh, right on, of course, you know, because it's totally street. You got to have that street cred, and this is how you get it, man.
100%. So yeah, so we were able to put it together, and then the fundraising started happening. We showed the viability. The city said, okay, well, we have elderly in public housing and the public SHRA housing, so we'll fund $140,000 for these 5 restaurants to feed these people over the next 6 weeks. And so that was the start of it. Once we had that partnership with the city, we were able to fundraise from corporate donors, and we raised enough money to feed 100,000 meals. So we made 100.
How much longer did the program last after that?
The SHRA program was over about a month ago. The very last tip of what we're providing for family meal goes out on Tuesday. So this upcoming Tuesday is the last bit of it. We were able eventually to grow that program to 12 restaurants. So we had 12 restaurants participating in family meal, you know, pretty much providing them with enough revenue to help cover their expenses and their labor, right? And then a lot of that stuff, the PPP stuff started coming in, and the emergency disaster relief loan started coming. So businesses started to get a little bit of money in the bank and feel a little more secure. But this really helped the community, but it also helped keep that money in their coffers for when they really needed it.
Right. It held off some of the expenses they might normally have had just because of all these donations and everything. And also, we should mention donations from our vendors out there, right? We should emphasize that.
You know, Cisco Sacramento stepped up huge, you know, and you think about Cisco, and oftentimes you think about this big box truck that shows up. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, they participate. You know, we were using a lot of product from Harris Ranch in California. We're using a lot of California grown, you know, produce and canned goods and things like that were from our local area, Stanislaus tomatoes and stuff like that. And it was important for us to support the local economy. So we wanted to make sure that those were the things we had access to. Produce Express, huge. Del Monte Meats, Nyman Ranch stepped up big time donated. Superior Farms donated at one point 5,000 pounds of lamb vindaloo. And it was
Oh,
like,
wow.
right? Like,
there's one you don't see every
of
day.
all the things, right? It was retail packed lamb vindaloo from Superior Farms down the road. So it's like, these vendors stepping up and really providing a service, and it was the stuff that they were able to provide because of the chefs they were providing it to really went to great use. Like it was whatever, right? You had retail packed pre-sliced ham. Cool. We can turn that into, chili or greens
The
or
bomb. Yeah.
right. We can turn that into cool stuff. So, we were able to really utilize a lot of products. We banded together as a cooperative, where I would solicit a donation from Cho Chocolate, and I put
Yeah.
out the text message, and all of a sudden there was, I had 16 cases of chocolate that would show up, or 140 cases of hard-boiled eggs that would come. And you put out the signal, and then all of a sudden we had 7, 8 restaurants show up at Canon to pick up eggs, or Mulvaney got pallets of canned tomatoes, so then we'd all show up there. Amy Grabish got us a good deal on some mulefoot hogs.
Mulefoot hogs. She told me she was going to do that. Yeah.
So we all split, we each ordered halves and we split them, and we shared. Mulvaney has his big smoker and I have my big smoker. So like it became this kind of cooperative effort so that the restaurants survive, super important, and that people get fed. And that was also something that everybody was struggling with, So
And it's not just, and the restaurants and the suppliers and on and on. It's like ripples in a pond, baby. I love it, man. It just, so it sounds like it's kind of ramping down. Is this sort of thing evolving into the next stage? Like what's the next stage kind of looking like, if you can even talk to that?
Well, so we're going to meet on, I guess tomorrow, and really decide what the next steps are. Cause we raised about $500,000, and that money is out, and the donations have slowed down quite a bit. But what really happened too is that program inspired the Great Plates Delivered program that's put on by FEMA, the state of California, and then our local administrator is the city of Sacramento. And really this is an offspring, Great Plates is an offspring of Family Meal Sacramento. We're pretty proud of that because statewide now, that's providing restaurants statewide with, the additional funds to feed the at-risk elderly that are being forced to stay in their homes. So,
Wow.
something to be proud of. And so that program,
that has got to feel really good, man. It's got to feel really good, and it should feel good to everybody in Sacramento. We got a great community here in this town, and I just love hearing this story. I'm busting right now, Brad. I'm busting.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that Sacramento should hang its hat on too, because our chef community and our restaurant community that we have in this town is very, very different from other towns and other cities that I've been in and lived in. We are all very close and very tight. And during this time, we were able to communicate with each other to really create an effort that could move bureaucracy. Oftentimes the wheels of bureaucracy move pretty slow. And it was very impressive for the city of Sacramento in less than a week to get, this program up and running. And the program is, we're working with 44 restaurants just in the city of Sacramento right now, doing the Great Plates program. And that, I don't even know what the statewide numbers are, but we're making a big difference. And so Family Meal kind of lost its steam when Great Plates started up, because
but it's been absorbed. It's like Great Plates is now the Borg, and it was born of Family Meal, and right. Man, it's just like it sounds like the new and improved version to me. I'm hoping. I'm hoping
the money's a little better on it. We're able to use a little bit better ingredients, because Family Meal, we got $20 a box. One box fed 4 people. So there's 4 meals in each box. Great Plates, there are 3 meals in each box, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for one person. And that box is worth, $60. So it's,
oh, wow. Okay.
So we're able to provide a lot better ingredients. We're able to, really pick and choose what we want to do. We're able to put some effort in. It takes care of a lot of labor. There's a distribution aspect. When you pass out Family Meal boxes, we'd go to a centralized location, people would come pick them up. And the Great Plates program, paratransit is delivering those boxes to everybody's doorstep. So there is an existing logistics to to making that happen.
They know how to do it.
And paratransit knows they're
Yeah.
the perfect partner because they know exactly, those routes, what those routes look like, and what those neighborhoods are like, and who those people are, and all that stuff. So it was and paratransit came on to distribute for us early on in Family Meal, and then we were able to absorb them into the Great Plates program. So, and
more ripples.
They were
more ripples in the pond.
Totally, they were in a similar position because here are the elderly people not leaving their houses, so they don't need transit to their doctor appointments, and they don't need transit to the. So now you have all these drivers at paratransit who were out of work because there was no routes for them. They weren't taking elderly people to do whatever they do, So now we were able to repurpose them, and so it all worked out.
It's just I kind of had a thought, when you were kind of describing all of this stuff and, about city government working and the bureaucracy and everything. And it's because the chefs were involved. But, maybe we should throw this out there. Maybe some of those chefs out there should get a little more involved in politics. Maybe things maybe we ought to be able to snap things into working order here in short order.
More like we're not the jockey or the horse. We're more of the whip. You know what I mean? It's when we got involved, it was really chefs right here on the expo line. You're like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so we have chefs have a good way of motivating people, and so that wasn't necessarily our doing. The city was definitely motivated, but the window for success on that was so short that we had to work pretty long days there for a while just to get it going. And kudos to the mayor. Mayor's office is the one that really got those wheels in motion. So they did a good job, and hopefully we'll be getting extended on that because we're still producing right now 150 boxes, so 450 meals a week for the elderly, and we're hoping that gets extended till August 10th.
That is awesome. You're still cranking it out, man. That's awesome.
We are. It's everything we do. We still got 150 Family Meal boxes and 150 Great Plates boxes every week, and then on top of that, we're doing the curbside stuff. And now we have, we did have dine-in, but now we still have the patio dining, and so all of that stuff is keeping us busy.
Okay, well, I'm hoping it's enough between the patio dining and the curbside and everything. I hope it's enough to keep you guys cranking and everything.
Right.
Maybe we'll. I kind of want to get to what Canon's kind of doing nowadays, but I wanted to switch gears here a little bit and ask you about yourself, sir, because I did a little research. It's what good interviewers do, Brad.
Right.
And so, looking at your background, there are a lot of things that you and I share. We have in common. Okay, so for instance, you grew up. Where'd you grow up?
Carmichael.
In Sacramento. What part of town?
In Carmichael.
Exactly. Yeah. What part of town though, or what part of Carmichael? I'm sorry.
So right near like Mission and Marconi and Eastern, that area right there.
Okay, so I was at Mission and Arden.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. So you went to what school did you go to?
El Camino. So I was
El Camino. Okay, so I didn't really go to school, so try not to rub my nose in it or anything. But I was slotted to go to I was over in that Rio Americana, right in that area there, right? But later on you went to junior college, right? Where'd you go?
I'm an American River Beaver.
American River Beaver. I don't know if I was ever a Beaver. I don't know if the Beavers would have me, but I was also a graduate of the American River College. You did some of the culinary program out there, did you not?
Yeah, I went there right after high school, and I don't know if I ever graduated per se. I don't think I had the units. I didn't ever finish my GE, I think, and but yeah, I was at the school off and on for 3 or 4 years. Took some breaks in between to travel and cook and do apprentices and apprenticeships and all that stuff.
That all sounds like me too. It's blowing my mind, man. Yeah. Right? Where did you go after that?
So I left American River twice. Once I left to move to Colorado Springs, and I was an apprentice at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. And
is that a hotel? A resort?
It's a big resort.
Nice.
At the base of the Rocky Mountains. And then came back to school, got a little further, and then I went off to the Culinary Institute of America.
There it is again. Another thing we have in common. What'd you think of it, man? Did you like it?
I think that school is the best cooking facility in the world, right? Like
that's what I say too.
From an equipment standpoint, I think I ran into a lot of students there that maybe, took it for granted and didn't get what they needed out of it, and it's an expensive experience. So, it's if you're not getting the things that you need out of it, then it's not really worth it. For me, I got everything I could get out of it and more. So, I'm happy to make that payment every month.
Still, huh? I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Still.
But and it was a great experience. And that place, it's beautiful, and I, met a lot of, great people and made a lot of connections that helped me in my career, and learned a lot from instructors, and externship was great, and all those things. So it was a really beneficial experience for me.
Awesome. Yeah, kind of funny. I saw that you cooked for a vice president.
I did at the Broadmoor during. I was at the Broadmoor in 2002, and so that was one of Dick Cheney's undisclosed locations.
Oh wow! I had no idea.
The resort is at the base in NORAD. So
yeah, okay.
So that was one. That was a bunker type situation close to a base. So the resort had been built for heads of state and things like that to stay there, to kind of, and then they would go take tours of the Air Force Base. So he was there, a few times a month as he moved around the country to all those different places. And so
he was a regular.
The restaurant I worked in had a chef's table right in the kitchen. So it was a very private table, but it was in the kitchen. So it was kind of a good scenario for the Secret Service. They could keep eyes on everybody and everything, and also at the same time it was a luxurious experience for the VP. So
that's kind of interesting. So he was eating at the chef's table when he came.
Right there as we were
Makes sense.
prepping
For security. I didn't cook for a vice president, but I did cook for the president, but it was the one we have now. So it doesn't really count. So maybe, I don't know, it's about the same. Yeah. I worked for Trump during my externship from the CIA, right? Yeah. And he owned a hotel, the Grand Hyatt, New York, and I worked there, and yeah. And at a restaurant, his restaurant's name was Trumpets, by the way. He's got to have his name in there. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Let's see, you have some hotel experience. So you talked about the resort and everything, and you were an executive chef at a hotel as well, right?
I was the executive chef of 3 different hotels. So
very good.
Well, so I was in my tenure at the Citizen. I was the interim executive chef there for almost a year between.
I knew that.
Michael Toohey and Oliver Ridgway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left from there to open as executive chef, open the Westin downtown Cleveland.
This is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. So big 500-room hotel with 3 restaurants and a banquet facility. That would blow your mind. It was a big project. So yeah, I was there. I did that, and then
and that was an opening, right?
Yeah. So that was an
which
opening.
Is yeah.
It was craziest time of my life. And
that's a monster.
And then I left there to move to the Napa Valley to reopen Solage and Soul Bar.
Right.
And then eventually became the executive chef of that property. Wow. Wasn't hired on as the executive chef, but I left there.
Stellar, baby. Yeah. Stellar. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Did that, and then here I am, and then I got the opportunity to open Canon, and so we opened in 2017, and here we are.
But like rolling into Canon, the opening of that, there was a lot of press at the time, and a lot of people knew you in town because of the Grange and all of that, right? Yeah, but I was going to say, you were still a guy that is just a cook, and you're trying to open a place, going through everything else, everybody else has to go through, right? It wasn't just like, dropped from the heavens or anything.
No, totally. And we, because I had never in Sacramento had never been an executive chef. I had left. The reason I left was to become an executive chef, but I had a lot of friends in town. I was lucky enough that when Oliver came on board at Grange, like he still allowed me to be present socially and be out in the community and doing, things and events and stuff like that. So I was really able to make a lot of relationships with the local restaurant community, not necessarily the dining community, right? Not necessarily the customers. I was more the guy behind the guy for a long time. And so moving
Gotcha.
back to Sacramento, I had, garnered some accolades, whether, the Michelin star at Soul Bar or, some big reviews in Cleveland. And so there was a lot of press leading up to Canon's opening and things like that. And I think we did a pretty good job of getting that done. And really it was my 10th restaurant opening, and my, fourth as a leader. So it was, I was not super uncomfortable with the opening. Now this was my first time in an ownership role.
That's what I'm talking about. That leap right there.
A checking account that had my name on it. But and it's been a wild ride since.
Yeah. Yeah.
My daughter was born the day before Canon opened.
And so how long is the restaurant / daughter? How old are they?
We'll be 3 in October.
They'll both be 3 in October. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so let's shift gears into like present day Canon. I mean, Canon was, known as kind of the place. It's kind of fine dining, but casual, right? And it's like shared plates and small plates. It's a grazing restaurant. Is that kind of a good way to describe that?
I think we, then that's definitely the way we open. I think the further we got along, I think our style definitely switched to a more family style dining experience. Our portion sizes got a little bigger. It got away from the small plates and got towards, really using vegetables as the center of the plate item, and which kind of created a, protein to veg kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing that quite frankly, like looking in press and things like that. That's one of the things that's always out there is you guys are featuring the vegetables, right? Where we live and everything. That's what it's all about. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we, nowadays we, when we closed and we had gotten, attention from the Michelin Guide back in June, and had a really great year going, and then obviously, COVID happened, and so now, we're doing the family meal stuff still. We're at this point have a brand, we closed in the spring, so we opened with a brand new summer menu, which is, my favorite time, obviously.
And that was for dine-in, right?
For dine-in. Well, and we also kind of during the shutdown, we had our curbside menu that we had kind of, made some changes and articulated through that the spring using that, the curbside stuff as a creative outlet. But then when we reopened, it was important to us that we started out with a summer menu. So the menu is full of, we're getting ready to get into tomatoes. We didn't open with that, but really great peaches and beans and squash and corn and all that stuff's going on right now, which is a ton of fun. And
my refrigerator's full of it right now, man. I'm all excited too.
Yeah. And so we're, we got in our patio, we remodeled our patio last year. So, we have misters and fans and shade cover and, booths and upholstered banquettes and a fire pit and all this stuff. So, I'm very thankful right now that we have our outdoor space, because, it's one of the better places in town to really get out there and safely dine.
You guys are, that's something we were talking about earlier, is you guys are very fortunate to have that outdoor space. A lot of places it's going to be a tough situation if they don't have that outdoor dining space and they aren't able to have dine in. They're going to have to try and figure out some way to make it work just with curbside. And I wonder if it's just keep it simple, figure out something that people need, go into the lumpia business or, wings, right. One thing that
was one thing that worked really well for us during our curbside only, was just reinventing, ourselves with content every day or every week, whether it was a pop-up of, we did pre-ordered cinnamon rolls every Saturday and they sold out for weeks. And so
who wouldn't want that?
Oh,
oh my God.
Awesome. So then we're going to look into, as the weather is hot now, we're looking at doing some Hawaiian shaved ice pop-ups. and things like that, where people will be able
Yeah.
to walk up onto the sidewalk and we'll just pass it over the patio, and they can order some shave ice and with local, the seconds from cherries or, bruised peaches, and we make a syrup or a compote or whatever out of it. So,
Think of the ways you could go with what we have around here. It's amazing. And shaved ice. It's the middle of summer. I had Najina on last week, her right from
Yep.
South. And
Yep.
One of the things she said was, give the people what they want. And that sounds exactly like something that people would want. Right. And it's just a snow cone, but it's, people need that stuff,
Yep.
it's not just about something fancy. It's not just about, getting a meal. You also got to have that psychological thing, the fun, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What I wanted to do is kind of see if we had any questions for you, open it up to the public, see if I got any chat here, because people do sign in. Just a minute. Tech. This is where I got to talk to my engineer, Daryl. Yeah, Daryl. We got to have a talk.
We got to have a talk.
We got to have a little talk, Mr. Daryl. All right. There it is. Make sure I got the sound down. And yeah, let me see here. Shaved ice. People like that idea, Brad. I got a couple of comments about shaved ice. Yeah, anybody has any questions out there, please shout them out. Well, gosh, I don't have any yet. Let me take a look at this. A couple of things here. Can you talk about any of the stuff that travels well? Let's say I'm a customer coming in and I want to get like curbside and stuff. What are some of the what you think might be the biggest hits for me to get, take home? And
yeah, so we have a braised, not a braised, but like a slow roasted smoked beef cheek right now. So it's like smoked, and then we shred it and press it into a brick and roast it and get it all like crispy on the outside. But it's like a Vietnamese kind of like take on it, where we got like green nectarines and green papayas kind of served as like a papaya type salad. So then you kind of do that brick and you mix it all up with the crunchy salad, and it's a really satisfying dish that travels really well. A lot of our vegetable items travel super well just because they're generally like grilled or roasted vegetables that we leave a little al dente. So by the time they get home, they're really perfect and
still crisp. And
yeah. And we were able to really, dial in some things that typically wouldn't travel so well, make some adjustments, whether it is a tempura squash blossom. We upped our tapioca flour and cornstarch and took out some regular flour and so that they stay crispy and stay a little longer. So we made some choices that allow for our food to travel a little better. And then
I think those are things that people don't think about, and how does a squash blossom travel? Because there's certain things, knowing a little something about food, my meager knowledge of food, right? And I'll see something on a menu and I'll be like, I don't know about a squash blossom, but if you can master the technology of a crispy squash blossom to go,
right,
that's something right there, right?
Yeah. So some of that stuff has done really well for us. So we do a lot of, over the course, our most popular item has been curbside, has been our whole chicken. We do just like a spatchcocked grilled whole chicken, and even like we're doing a grilled sturgeon al pastor right now from Michael Passmore. It's like, so we're cooking it on the bone. So when you cook it on the bone and then put it in a box, it doesn't dry out, it doesn't steam. Leaving that bone in there allows that meat to kind of rest and stay moist and hot and so we kind of discovered that along the way too. It's like
interesting. Probably because you're not damaging cell walls maybe or something, so the moisture's not flowing out or
exactly.
Huh.
So that stuff has been really, really helpful.
I love that down and dirty chef conversation stuff. I love that technique and just, oh man, I love that stuff.
Yeah, and like crunchy vegetables. Like we're not doing a lot of leafy green salad. We got a cabbage salad with lots of summer vegetables in it. Nice and crunchy. Dressings on the side so that they can toss it at home, and then that works. We started figuring out which sauces to put in the box with the food and which sauces to leave out of the box, because we're not going to put the sauce next to the squash blossoms so that it gets, soggy.
Warm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Or
melting.
warm, right? It could be a mayo based sauce and we don't want it to get hot. So it's like,
Exactly.
you got to figure that
Yeah.
stuff out.
So it just sounds like every day it's just a constant battle of just evolution and trying to figure things out and make it work.
But it's no different than any other day in a restaurant, right? Like,
I was just going to say, it sounds like a chef job.
yeah,
That was what.
just a different muscle. We're not
Yeah.
looking, we're not looking these days to where we're gonna seat a walk-in 8-top on a Saturday night. That's not our goal right now. Our goal now is to find out how to safely fit as many 2-tops on the floor. Or we got a big push coming at 7:30. That's not really on our radar anymore. Now we're working at like the pre-order to go food that's coming in along with, there's just different muscles we're having to exercise and different problems we're trying to solve.
Have you played with like set seating times where everybody kind of arrives at certain times and you try and fill the room and then empty it and fill it? Or
I find that like that puts undue stress oftentimes on a kitchen if you don't have enough space, right?
Yeah, you're just going to all get slaughtered.
We can't plate all that food so we try to space it out. Right now for us, what we are really trying to encourage diners at, not just at Canon, but at every restaurant right now is like, dine early and dine late, because those are the times in the day that like the restaurants are quiet. If everybody ate between 6:30 and 7:45, then that's one turn for the restaurant. If we get some more 5:30, 5 o'clock diners, and really, outside in Sacramento, dining at 8 o'clock is where you want to be, because the sun goes down below the horizon, the Delta breezes roll in. You're not getting that 6:30 sun beating down on you. So
yeah,
really encouraging, that European style al fresco, late evening dining is really the way to like help your local restaurant too, because that allows them to turn their limited tables multiple times.
You guys hearing that out in Sacramento? Not just Canon, all restaurants, right? Think about it. Don't go during the big rush, that what normally would have been the big rush back in the old world, right? Go right at 5, like Mrs. Nelson and I go. We like to get in early and get out of there, right? And relax at home.
Like a lot, we're closing a little bit later or a little bit earlier right now, just because the traffic is a little more limited. But we want that 7:45, 8:30 diner, because if you ask me, at Canon and any outside dining experience, that's the best time to eat in Sacramento anyway. But B, it also really supports that last bit of revenue for the restaurant.
You better believe it. Good stuff. Let's see. Somebody asked about picnic baskets. Do you guys do anything along those lines, or?
Make anything work these days.
I'm sorry?
I said I can make anything work these days.
You can make anything. So everything's basically negotiable with Brad Cecchi, is what I mean.
And so I think with our curbside business, we developed an online ordering platform called Pickup Fix that allows for optimizing, capturing payment. It's affordable for the restaurants, so they're not paying all these high fees that you read about with like the delivery services charging these restaurants all this money. That's been mitigated, and so we can do pre-order, and in which case I'm happy to put that pre-order in a picnic basket.
There you go. Yeah. And package it any way they need. Like you said, you're just figuring it out as you go and making it work every day and keeping your crew working, and that's something I gotta hand it to you. Who's on your crew, man? You want to give some of your guys a little shout out here?
Yeah, I got my two sous chefs, Sean Rummery and Mike Redbeck. Mike Redbeck's a alumni of American River College. So Sean has been handling most of the family meal and great plates stuff, and then Mike has been more leaning into curbside in the restaurant. So I've been really fortunate to have them on board. My patron chef Elena Winks, her husband Jack Winks, general manager. So they've been integral parts in everything we're doing. Obviously my business partner Clay, he's killing it. So we have a really good team here, a bunch of really passionate, devoted people. It's a scary world out there, and it has been with just the exposure to COVID and things like that. So having these people that, didn't really balk it at what we were asking and what enabled Canon to survive, and trusted us to make sure that we were keeping them safe in the process. And we've been, we just had a testing for our entire staff over the last 3 days, both antibody and swab testing. And so everything has been, everybody's had a clean bill of health around here. So, it's,
so is that test like as bad as they say? I mean, they're really getting back in there.
Okay. No, I think the initial ones were different. The one we got today was a short Q-tip that just was like right inside the nostril. And
well, that's good to hear. Don't be afraid, people. Now, if testing, don't be afraid of the testing.
It wasn't a 6-foot Q-tip, that they you had to, put in through your ear hole or you didn't take your pants off to get that test or anything. Like it was.
I keep putting things in my ear hole, man. I got to keep those things out of there. Yeah. And you too, people at home, right?
Totally. So yeah, it was a pretty short Q-tip up the nose.
And no incidents yet. And I saw up the street, we saw up the street our friends over at Crew and everything.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I just don't. It's just you can't. What are you going to do? I mean,
what are you going to do?
You can't, and it's not the restaurant's fault, right? Like this is something that is, every season everybody gets sick. This transmits just as easy as anything else, and so I think that I commend them for being transparent about it and making sure
that's the thing
that because we're right down the street. We share customers, or we share, we don't right now, but we have shared employees in the past, like things like that. So it's like their transparency is helping everybody around them, both geographically, but also just in their network, be aware of that contamination. So, I commend them hugely for being as transparent as they have been about it.
Couldn't agree more. Let's see. I got 2 more questions for you. Okay. One is, who around town is doing something really cool that you've seen, like creative, as far as like what they're selling, or other people that are doing cool work, with the community?
Totally. I think, it's been really cool to see Chris Barnum's been doing his tasting menu to go, which I think is really cool. It's a good adaptation, to what's going on. It kind of stays with his concept and allows his business to continue to be front of mind.
Ooh, maybe he'd like to get interviewed on this fake TV show sometime.
Might.
Might. Huh.
I, really obviously commend all of our partners in Family Meal, Mulvaney, Bencho, Camden Spit and Larder, Laura, all those guys that, they were all just, great partners to have along the way with everything that was going on.
Let me throw out there Nick's Taco also. I think we left out. Yeah.
We had Juan with the Barajas brothers at Savory Cafe in Woodland. They are, Juan's amazing. He's that Yolo County food whisperer. He's always bringing, produce. He was really good at helping us solicit donations, but at the same time, just really good at keeping, that farm to fork spirit alive at a time when it's very easy. Santana Diaz at UC Davis Med Center, right? Like, he had it as hard as anybody, having to, be in the health industry and really trying to make sure that he was, he's the guy in this community that doesn't get enough attention because he runs a hospital, but he's the one moving mountains from a sourcing perspective for a lot of us. So,
you better believe it. Santana Diaz, he was, if I can say, he was a longtime friend of the show. He was one of my first Between the Two Stoves interviewee. He was on here. Yeah. So you better believe we know Santana around here. He is the man.
Santana and Juan, Patricio, and all the Family Meal partners, Chris, and I know I'm forgetting a ton of people, but I think there's a lot of innovation that's happened, and a lot of adaptation, and I think it's really, really great to see, the Sacramento restaurant community not just surviving this, being really adaptive and kind of learn how to grow. I'm sure we'll see a lot of really great concepts, hopefully in the years to come, that got their, genesis from this this lockdown, so
yeah.
I think that times like this of great stress also breed great creativity and you know, and I think we'll see some of that, you know, happen in the year or two to come after this. But it's also gonna be a struggle, you know. It's got to come out and support the restaurants and do as much as they can. Whether it is, you know, if you're not ready to commit to dining in a dining room, then there's plenty of people offering curbside. You know, support them that way, and then when you're ready, we're here. You know,
gift cards, T-shirts,
totally.
Whatever. Do you guys have T-shirts, Brad?
Well, it's funny. We had just rebranded Canon right prior to COVID. We do have a sign now, though. And any people who have been to Canon and we're always kind of like, where's the sign? We had purchased the sign prior to the shutdown and had not been installed yet. So we do have a sign now.
I'm looking for T-shirts, man. My T-shirts are also thrash. My wife is on me. I got to get some new shirts, man.
Yeah,
might as well advertise.
Totally. Yeah, no, I know. I'm a walking billboard for Eric at the butcher shop.
Yeah, you know, I mean, she's so sick of seeing me.
Miller swag than anybody.
I know, she's so sick of seeing that stuff. I got to get something new, man. It's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with my very last question, Brad. You're this man of the dining room and all. I want to know what your guilty fast food or guilty food pleasure is.
It's no secret. I am a fantastic supporter of Jim Boy's Tacos.
Oh, that's it. Okay, Jim Boy's. I love Jim Boy's. In fact, yeah, I think if I did a little taco shack or something like that, I'd definitely go with the Parmesan cheese on the outside.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you think? Yeah.
I have the same order. You know, I get my ground beef tacos extra crispy, and you know, I've been Jim Boy's and I have a love affair on social media. They're always you know, putting something I say out there. You give an interview and I get this question and it's always Jim Boy's. So
no way. I hope you don't have to hear anything out of this one here.
Well, the more the better. I'm looking for a sponsorship. You kidding me?
Yeah, you better believe it. That is awesome, Brad. Dude, thank you so much for actually, you know, agreeing to this and showing up, because you never know.
Well, thanks for turning the sound on.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody heard us this time around.
Well, I heard you. I had you right here.
And like I said, if you need anybody to do some voiceover on that mime goat breakdown, just let me know. I'm happy to do a Mystery Science Theater on you.
You better believe it. I was thinking about something along those lines. We will definitely talk. That is awesome. With starring Brad Chetney. Hey, Cecchi, somebody might actually watch it then, is what I'm saying, right? So for the rest of you folks, thanks so much for dropping in to Between the Two Stoves interview with Brad Cecchi from Canon. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. I hope you maybe learned a little something along the way as well, right? Go by, give Brad a holler down at Canon, and look into Family Meal. And what was the new name, Brad? I'm sorry.
So Family Meal Sacramento is still the Family Meal name. The city and state run programs are called Great Plates Delivered.
Great Plates Delivered. Okay, folks, get out there and look at this. I know some of you people got some money. Start breaking out that wall and start showering these programs with money, because we are keeping restaurants alive. We're keeping our food chain alive, right? Our little local food system alive, and we are feeding people that need to feed. Think about those nice little old ladies and your grandmas and grandpas and all of those people. They can't go anywhere. They're stuck in their houses, and we are providing food. This is like a win-win-win-win-win-win-win situation. Okay, so I hope you guys look into it and support. Brad, you got anything else before I turn you loose, brother?
No, man. Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for having me, and let me know when you guys get some T-shirts, man. My wife is making.
I'll send them your way.
Thanks, brother. And we will see you. And ladies and gentlemen, you out there in Industry Nation, don't forget, the party's always in the kitchen. We will see you next time on Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour and Between the Two Stoves. Good night, everybody. Boom. And there it is, Brad. Take care, brother. Thanks.
Later, buddy. Bye.
Okay. Good luck tonight.
Thanks.